Cars have become one of the main forms of transportation for humans. They have allowed humans to travel across lands far faster than any other previous form of transportation. But cars may not have evolved as much as they have today if it wasn't for Henry Ford. Henry Ford designed one of the first motor vehicles and founded the Henry Ford Motor Company in 1901. His company began to manufacture cars at a staggering rate on the assembly line. This made cars more affordable and available to ordinary people. Although the cars were not that reliable at the time, they usually got the job done. It wasn't until the 1960s when cars began to become faster, more reliable, and luxurious.
Behind the wheel of a car is like the best feeling you can have, especially the car that you really love and want to own. Fast cars are awesome. The sound of the motor, the music blasting, can't get any better than that.
The demand was high for cars with these characteristics, and so the muscle car was born. A muscle car is a mid-sized car with a large V8 engine. These cars were also usually two doors and were wheel-wheel drive. Muscle cars became very popular among young drivers because of how sleek and affordable they were. But there was one car that stood above the others, and that car was known as the Ford Mustang. The 1964 Ford Mustang is a two-seated mid-engine car, and they sold for just over $2,300, which was an amazing price even for the time. The Mustang was an amazing car. Just 1 year later, the Mustang won Car of the Year, and then in March of 1966 they passed the 1 million mark. This car was without a doubt the most popular American car of the time period.
My favorite muscle car was my 1985 Chevy Berlinetta Camaro. It was one of the best cars I ever bought. It was fast, it was hot looking, and it was loud. Racing that thing and watching everybody behind me was the best adrenaline rush you could ever feel.
As the 60s were coming to an end, car safety was becoming a problem. The death toll for cars was up to 1,000 per week and rising. 1966 was an unprecedented year for car manufacturers with loads of new required safety features. One major new feature was a device that reduced carbon monoxide gases, which became a required feature due to the Air Quality Act passed by Lyndon B. Johnson in 1967. The Air Quality Act was passed due to the extreme jolt in air pollution. With the increasing use of vehicles on the road and industrial development, the air quality, mainly in urban areas like cities, was getting worse, so President Lyndon B. Johnson took the issue at hand. However, that did not help with the thousands of people dying due to cars, so the government had added many new safety features that were mandatory for cars. An example of that would be front window defoggers. What these did was basically heat up the front window, which would clear any fog that had accumulated on it. This was a very helpful feature because the fog would lower visibility to where you almost can't see at all out the window. Thanks to safety features like this, the amount of car-related deaths dropped greatly. People could now drive without having to worry so much about getting into an accident.
Cars back then were more original looking. The motors alone were easier to work on. They had more room. They were just faster, nicer. The cars now are more artificial and fake looking is the only way I can explain it. They can crush in a matter if in an accident. Cars back then were made of metal. Life is like a car to me. Back then, cars were easy, simple. Now, cars are difficult and complicated and busy.
Cars are one of the greatest inventions of mankind. It is amazing to think of how cars have evolved over the past 100 years, and I wonder how cars will look in another 100 years, or if they even will still exist. The 1960s were definitely a real kickstarter in the car industry, and cars may not have evolved to how they are today if it wasn't for Henry Ford and the invention of the muscle car.